perfect students. English with Knowledge World Academy. Your perfect tutor, Mr. Gilbert CJ. So in this video, we are going to look at comparison. So this topic is very simple. It comes under rewrites in paper 2. So structures or expressions of comparison are used to show the difference or similarity. So when we talk about comparison, we're just talking about two things. It's either you're looking for the difference or the similarity between two or among people or things. So we have two types of comparison. We have comparative and superlative. We use comparative for comparing two things, and we use superlative for comparing more than two things. So for single syllable adjectives and adverbs, we add ER to comparatives and EST to form superlatives. So look at these examples here. Positive, comparative, superlative. We have the word tall. So what you need to understand here is the syllables. Syllables are simply sounds that you make when you are pronouncing a word. So when you look at this word tall, you are only making one sound, tall. So slow is just one sound, slow. But when you look at the word, for example, positive, po, z, t, and v. So you are making about 1, 2, 3, 4 syllables here. 4 syllables. So those ones we do not add ER. You are going to learn. So we'll start by revising this grade 9 work, then we'll advance from there. So tall becomes taller, then tallest for superlative. Slow, slower, slowest. Near, nearer, nearest. Fast, faster, fastest. This is under single syllable adjectives. Now, adjectives of two syllables ending in Y, ER, OW, and LE normally form the comparative and superlative with ER and EST as well. So now for Y, we drop the Y, add I, then ER at the end. For example, pretty will become prettier, prettiest. You will just cancel the Y and you replace it with I. Clever, cleverer, cleverest. You don't say since there is ER at the end, then you are done. You won't add another ER in order to form comparative. No, you are supposed to add cleverer. Then narrow becomes narrower, narrowest. Gentle, gentler, gentlest. The comparatives and superlatives of words which have two or more syllables other than those mentioned earlier are formed by putting more and most before the positive form. So these ones now have more than two syllables. For example, interesting. We are forming interesting. Like they are about 1, 2, 3, 4 syllables here. You are making 4 sounds for you to pronounce the word interesting. So we don't say interestinger, interestingest. Interesting becomes more interesting, most interesting. Poisonous, more poisonous, most poisonous. Careful, more careful, most careful. And beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful. I hope we are together here. Now, apart from that, we also have the irregular forms. So these do not follow any of the mentioned rules. They are just on their own. You have to know them by heart. For example, good or well becomes better or best. There is nothing like good or goodest. We don't have such. Then bad, worse, worst. There is no badder, baddest. We don't have such. Little, less, least. Much or many, more, and most. These are irregular forms. You just have to know them by heart. Let us look at these simple questions here. Chisanga is dash than Mulenga. Chisanga is dash than Mulenga. We have the word tall there. Now we are comparing two people here, so we are going to use the comparative form. Chisanga is taller than Mulenga. Mary is dash than Chansa. Since we are comparing Mary to Chansa, then this will be Mary is cleverer than Chansa. Not more clever. Mary is cleverer than Chansa. Musonda is the dash intelligent pupil in grade 9 class? Is the more intelligent or is the most intelligent? Musonda is the most intelligent pupil in grade 9 class because you are comparing Musonda to all the pupils in this class. English is dash than French. English is dash than French. Is it good than French or is goodest? So English is better than French. The situation is getting dash every day. Is it getting better? No. The situation is getting worse every day. So that was just a recap of what you covered in grade 9. Let us look at sentence patterns for making comparisons. This is what you will now find in your exam. So we use the following patterns in order to make sentences comparison. The first pattern is adjective or adverb plus comparative form. Then we are going to put than. Mbene is shorter than. Let me explain an adjective. An adjective is simply a word that talks more about a noun. For example, when you talk about Mbene, Mbene is a person. So this is a noun. Now, how is Mbene? Mbene is short. So short is an adjective, a word that talks more about a what? A noun. Then an adverb is a word that talks more about a verb. That is an adverb. So Mbene is shorter than Mwene. We'll just use the comparative shorter and we'll put than as the pattern says, plus than. This book is more interesting than the one I read last week. We are comparing two books here. The one you're reading and the one you read last week. So this one is more interesting than the one I read last week. We cannot say this book is interestinger than the one I read last week. That's wrong English. The second pattern is as dash dash as. So in between the two as we have an adjective or an adverb in its ordinary or original form. So how do we use this structure? We use this structure to compare two similar people or things. Two similar people or things. For example, Nsokolo is as kind as her mother. Nsokolo is as kind as her mother. Meaning these people are similar in kindness. This house is as beautiful as the one we saw earlier. Meaning the two houses are just the same when it comes to beauty. He runs as fast as a hare. He runs as fast as a hare. So we use this structure to compare two similar people or things. Important point to note here. Never use the comparative form when using this pattern. For example, it would be very wrong to say Sokolo is as kind as her mother. You cannot use the word kind in between as and as. This house is as more beautiful as the one we saw earlier. That is very wrong. So once you use as dash dash as, then the word which is an adjective or adverb will be in its original form. You're not supposed to add anything. Now we have the opposite of the previous one. The opposite of the previous one. As dash dash as is used to compare two similar things or people. But when you introduce not to this expression, then you are comparing two things or people that are unequal. That are unequal. For example, Daka is not as clever as Simpungwe. Meaning Simpungwe is cleverer than Daka. Daka is not as clever as Simpungwe. Simpungwe is cleverer than Daka. Your house is not as big as mine. So if we use as big as mine, we just say your house is as big as mine, meaning they are the same. They are the same. All of them are big. They are the same. But when we say your house is not as big as mine, meaning mine is bigger than yours. That is the meaning. So this is just the opposite of the one we just did. Then we also have they plus comparative, another they plus comparative. So here you have two theys and two comparatives. This pattern is used to indicate parallel increase or decrease. Parallel increase or decrease. For example, the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. As you can see, we have the in the first clause and a comparative which is higher, and then in the second clause also we have the and comparative which is cooler. The sooner we start off, the better. The sooner we start off, the better. The older he grew, the less intelligent he became. The older he grew, the less intelligent he became. The more she practiced, the better she played the guitar. So note that when you have a comparative in the first clause, the second clause should also have a comparative. You cannot say the older he grew, the most intelligent he became. The two sentences are not agreeing. The older he grew, the less intelligent he became. Once you just see the older here, so this is the plus comparative, meaning even in the second clause, I'm going to have the plus another what? Comparative. That's why we use comparative, less intelligent. The more she practiced, we cannot say the best she played the guitar. That would be very wrong. We're supposed to use another comparative, and that is the better she played the guitar. And remember that a comma is used to separate the two parallel clauses. Once you omit that comma, then your sentence is totally wrong. So please do not forget the comma. Very much important. So that was about comparative, making sentences using comparative. Now, this is superlative. So we have this pattern here. We have the plus adverb or adjective, which would be in superlative form. She is the cleverest pupil in class. She is the cleverest pupil in class. If you're comparing Mulenga and Chanda, we are going to say Mulenga is cleverer than Chanda. But we are comparing this she to all the pupils in class. So we cannot say she is the cleverer pupil in class. That will not make sense. So she is the cleverest pupil in class. This is the most interesting movie I have ever watched. You are comparing this movie to all the movies that you have ever watched, meaning you are supposed to use superlative, the most interesting. He is the best singer in the choir. Of all the singers, this one is the best. So once you use the, we put the superlative. He is the best singer in the choir when we are comparing more than two people or things. That's how we use superlative and comparative. Very simple and straightforward. So now we have these sample questions here. I want you to try out. I will help you answer the first one. Chisanga's beauty increases as she grows older. Pay attention to the tenses as you are rewriting these sentences. Chisanga's beauty increases as she grows older. The order, so this is just the pattern we just discussed. The order meaning they have given you the plus comparative, meaning you are going to have two clauses here. Even in the second clause, you're supposed to have the and another comparative. So the older Chisanga grows, the more beautiful she becomes. The older Chisanga grows, the more beautiful she becomes. So, and I want you to try out these other 4 questions here. I want you to complete them. The rate of success in business increases with the number of risks taken. The more, as you go higher, it gets cooler. The higher, women's clothes are less expensive than men's clothes. Replace than with as. Replace than with as. So you're going to use the expression as -- as. No guitarist is as good as Matthews in the band. Meaning Matthews, you're going to try out these 4 questions. Thank you very much for watching this video.